can understand why the producers of dirty fuel have no interest in getting off the fuel. They would like to make it more dear. They would like to cut use down by just making it more expensive. This is a great example of price fixing and market manipulation. And of course, if you're among the stakeholders, the shareholders of the oil, well, you just say, oh, well, you want to blame capitalism, which isn't fair because it's not in any way any kind of capitalism that's moral or ethical. It's crony capitalism, which is kind of fascist, and it is price fixing. It involves collusion, market manipulation. The profits are kept to a select few. It's kind of like the banking takeover of '08, where they privatize the profits from the theft of the wealth of our nation, and they socialize the debt. They put it on the backs of the people. People say, well, how do they put it on the backs of the people? Again, through unsound currency, through debasement of the currency. So the worst market manipulation took place in the housing industry. And this is an industry they could pick on because it is an essential human need. So they can get away with a lot of market manipulation, a lot of price fixing. And the way they did this was just by it was at the end of Clinton's term because he deregulated the market so much, the mortgage market, through this allowing the expiration of this Glass-Steagall Act that had been in effect for 100 years, and it kind of kept the market manipulation and price fixing down to a minimum because of the regulation. It was consumer protection regulation. But after his term, it was a huge favor to the money printing class, the political class, these money masters, and so they were able to just go hog wild on the public, wild west on us, and just dump all this money on the market. You understand? Because their master whispered in their ear and said, "Look, it's all going to be covered. We're going to demand a bailout. We're going to claim we're too big to fail, and if you let the market fall and you let this correction really take place, then all hell's going to break loose." Well, martial law. Remember Henry Paulson in there with Congress threatening him. It was terroristic, very terroristic. And so Congress, they just folded like a cheap suit, and they acquiesced, and they went along with this. And some of them acted a little bit enraged about a little angry about the whole thing, and objected a little bit. But for the most part, they went along with it, agreeing, hey, we just can't let this correction take place, because if the correction had taken place, folks, once again, you would have been able to buy a house in this country, anywhere in this country, on a minimum wage income. What was that? Back in 2008, it was probably nationwide, it was probably under $7 an hour, and here in California, it was about $8 an hour, I guess, something like that. It still is, maybe even less than that. But if wages had kept up with the market manipulation and the price fixing, you understand, then they couldn't have debased our currency. But they would have constantly been trying to blame the labor, the workforce, for being cocky and demanding and being, the entitled class, that they're entitled to fairer living wages. But they're doing unskilled work that didn't take a great education, and all this rationalizing about, why we should blame the labor class, blame this union or that union because they're just demanding too much, and this is causing problems for somebody else. But the fact is, this would have been a very good way to regulate the market, because during a cost of living adjustment, you have a great window of opportunity to point the fingers at the causers. Again, the people requiring a cost of living adjustment just so that they can be even and how their dollar maintains its buying power, they have to increase their, it has to be adjusted correspondingly in a commensurate manner with the cost of living, which is, to me, it's only reasonable. Otherwise, if you say that's not reasonable, then you're condoning pay decreases, really, because mathematically there's no difference. If your cost of living is going up and you don't get a commensurate pay increase, then there's no different, mathematically speaking, than if your income, your wages continue to go down. And yes, I'm definitely opposed to people's wages dropping, and my whole life I've had to watch this unfold. So yes, I'm a very frustrated guy. I'm very angry. I'm upset that more people don't understand how this works, how simple it is, and how simple the solutions are, but how powerful the powers that be are fighting against us in having a semblance of wealth equality. The opposite of disparity has to be good, right? Which is equality. You want the wealth disparity to be diminished, right? So that not by bringing the rich down, but just by allowing other people to be rich also, which is prosperity, which is your security, which is your freedom, financial security, financial prosperity. You get how all these things interrelate. And how dramatically different, again, our reality would be if we could have some semblance of justice in the economic realm. And again, it all comes down to the economics. People won't do the horrific things they do if they don't need the money, if they're not scared. They're not going to grow GMO foods. They're not going to spray the skies with chemical weaponry. They're not going to do these police state military operations, collaborative efforts like Jade Helm. They're not going to be, all this stuff, everything goes by the wayside. Abortion, prostitution, all the sundry crime, so many of the divorces that are caused for one financial reason or another, on and on and on. We're all being affected and psyched out by these money masters. Our reality is just a putrid wasteland of byproduct of what these people have done to us. These people are causing our unnecessary misery. And again, life's hard enough. It's short. Here today, gone tomorrow. So why on earth would we tolerate this? But in a very real sense, we can't help it. I mean, I'm stuck in the same devil's soup as you are, he is, she is. All of us are in this thing together. And the best we can do is come out of confusion, to actually know. Knowledge is power, right? So you've got to know a lie from the truth. And if you can just determine, that these people are liars, they definitely have no compunction about lying in mass. Look, folks, we're born masters of self-deceit. And unless you know that fundamentally and how easy it is just to lie to yourself, then you won't understand how these people can lie to the public and act like they believe it. They're deceived. They really are. These are not only deceivers, but they're deceived. And worse than just being deceived, these people perpetuate the lie. So, they want us all in a state of confusion, because when you're confused, you are effectively deceived, you're disempowered, you're off balance, you lack confidence, and that's it in a nutshell. You don't have empowerment through understanding, through the knowledge. But if you see clearly that you really are being duped, that the entire established system is a charade, it's a rotten, pathetic charade from the pit of hell. It's just a stinking, rotten, maggot-filled corpse at this point in history. And the good news is that I think we're hitting the bottom, because I don't know how much worse the American people at least are going to let it get. I mean, I can't speak for people in other parts of the world. All I can speak to this little microcosm known as America. And these people are wrecking up the joint every which way from Sunday they can, okay? With the, open borders and, now ISIS we got operating in America. They're doing everything they can to make sure there's plenty of chaos and the people stay scared and hungry and desperate and poor. Again, the poverty. Because, you got the crime, and so we got the prison industry, and hey, we couldn't end poverty because then, most of the crime would go away, and then what the hell, all these people in the prison industry are going to be laid off, and in the judicial industry and all this. It's like, oh my God. I mean, do you see how pathetic, how immersed in Satan's spell and curse that we are all under? That's primarily what we got to understand. The money and Satan go hand in hand, and all the minions therein. And the only way we're going to be free is to be free from this money-based reality that has been foisted on us. We didn't have a choice. Our parents didn't have a choice. We're told, look, you can't do it. You can't just go take some property, build your house, and cut the wood yourself and grow your own food and go catch your own fish and be free from the government, from the state, from this religious order, which is really essentially what it is. And it's totalitarian, it's authoritarian, it's dictatorial. That's it. You do it or you go to jail. We'll take your stuff and we could, whatever we want to do. We could abuse you physically. We could kill you if we want. We have that power. We're the state. We're the legitimate power monopoly. And, it's horrific. It's horrific that people don't see that the state is the most pernicious religion out there today. So, you understand, if we had universal prosperity, we're not going to wreck up the earth because all the clean technology could be released, since the people that hold the fungible asset known as oil and coal and whatever. I mean, look at the nuclear. I mean, that's the dirtiest fuel out there. It's horrifically dangerous and volatile. So all these dirty energies start going away as the clean energy comes into being. And that everything can be done, all our problems, we can bring all the fresh water in so we never have famine in the land. We can bring it in from the coast through desalinization, and everything could be running very clean with renewable energy. All our cars, the manufacturing processes, everything could be clean and free. So don't let the idea that, we're going to wreck the earth be any kind of a restraint in terms of seeing that we could have universal prosperity. You really can have this because we're going to have the clean technology once we're not driven by this money motive, which so easily corrupts everyone. I mean, who out there isn't a little sick in the head thinking about money all the time, spending it, making it. Oh, woe is this, woe is that, and lucky am I, blessed am I that I've got so much. Whatever the case may be for your finances, you're never going to be happy because you're not going to be content knowing that there's so many people suffering unnecessarily out there. These are your brothers and sisters. These are immutable laws I'm talking about of your conscience. Understand that there's one spirit of truth out there that applies to all of us. There is absolute truth. And unless we are in line with that and understand that your welfare, his welfare, her welfare is literally your welfare. All of our welfare is entwined. And until we please our divine parents in our behavior and in our thinking, then we will never find happiness because our conscience is part of this. These people are our brothers and sisters. And you can't be happy when your conscience is vapid. When you throw it to the wind and say, look, I've done good. If you just do what I did, I made a lot of money and I'm safe and secure and I've got prosperity and free financial freedom and all this. So, if you just follow what I do, it'll work for you. Okay, yes, to this day, there's still a critical mass of people that think they're doing good. But it's an illusion. Look at people invested in the stock market through 401ks and this sort of thing. So this is how they're supporting the establishment in a way that's very kind of subtle. And the establishment knows if it doesn't maintain a critical mass of people that believe at least that they're invested in this system and that, rooting for it to succeed and keep going, keep the Ponzi scheme going. You can never taper a Ponzi scheme, right? Or else, it all starts coming apart. You can't just gradually raise interest rates or something like that would start slowing, putting on the brakes. No, we got to wait for this thing to just, have a bloody revolt or something, when there's so much poverty, so much wealth has been stolen from the people. We lost the critical mass and now we're off in our ivory towers and, in our encampments and we've got our private security guards and everything. So, we don't care about all you guys. We want you dead. And I would cite the Georgia Guidestones, how they want to depopulate the earth. They look at human beings as just the useless feeders, the useless eaters. They don't need us anymore because the machinery can take the place of the vast majority of people today. So, this is how these elitists, these hypocrites, this Illuminati class, the New World Order, globalist clan, these merciless thugs and gangsters, as far as I'm concerned, at the top, that's the way they think. They're perverted, they're sociopaths, psychopaths, they're freaks, okay? They're freaks, monsters. You could call them whatever you want, but you see, they're very miserable too, and they're trying to make us miserable. and they try to make you think that they're doing good. They put on a smiling face, these politicians. These people are empty. There's no substance to them. Their consciences are void. And God has no regard for these people, and we shouldn't either. These are the people that we need to train. We, the people, need to take hold of our politicians who are, they're the ones, and the lawmakers are all involved in all this, and these are the laws that we have to live under because they write up the laws, and then the police have to read the laws and learn the law and go enforce the law and do what they're